Good morning, everyone. Welcome aboard the Pride of Baltimore here on the 1st of August 2020 in the midst of our worldwide emergency. So I hope everybody's being diligent. Jan Miles, Captain of the Pride of Baltimore. Behind the camera, Jeff Crosby, Chief Mate.
Hello.
And we have an honored guest for joining us is Chairman of the Board of Pride of Baltimore Inc., Jason Williams. Welcome aboard.
Glad to be aboard. Thanks, Captain. I'm really excited.
So,
Before we get into the meat of things, Captain Miles, can you just explain what our viewership is seeing? This is kind of an unusual state for most people to see Pride in.
yeah, sure. So, we are unable to execute our mission because it's not safe for proximity of visitors on board the deck or living aboard in terms of strangers, our guest crew program. So we're protecting the ship in the meanwhile from the rain, from the sun. We have forced ventilation through. We've got all this gear stowed away ashore so that she's opened up down below. And we're twice a week wetting down the deck and the top sides as much as we can. And we're monitoring as well as doing maintenance. But this is what it's like during the winter when we do our normal layup between sailing seasons. We just got the opportunity to do extra things during this period of time of being laid up for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so this is kind of a view that a lot of people don't get to see. I know, Jason, this was your first time.
This is my first time. I'm excited. I mean, I know at one point in time I wanted to do an event during the winter called Pride Under Wraps because it's so beautiful under here, you know?
Yeah, it's very different.
It's different. It's different aesthetically. The light that's shining in, it just brightens and lightens the deck. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you with us this morning, Jason.
I'm glad to be here.
And you have a surprise for us this morning.
I do. I think, you know, while Pride is under wraps and, you know, the organization of Pride is still active, like, and the organization is made up, you know, the Pride is the symbol, the organization is the people. And the organization has been working hard trying to figure out how do we reach back into communities, how do we grow. And one of our newest partners is actually the National Park Service. They just granted us a $93,500 grant to partner with the National Park Services as we're launching next year and into next year to create programming to get people on the water, to engage people, and we get a park ranger, which I think is pretty cool. Like,
yeah, that's really cool.
as part, we actually are going to have a park ranger aboard the ship, so we're very proud of our relationship with the national parks and at Fort McHenry. Like, as we're going to be traveling from here to Annapolis, up and down the Chesapeake Bay, we're going to have a ranger partnering with us, helping us with our programming, and just helping us just generally with that excitement about like Pride being a symbol of tourism and excitement and bringing people to the waterfront and knowing that we have such a great partner as the National Park Service. So actually, they're doing their $93,500 next year, but they also just awarded us another $72,000 for 2022. So it's a 2-year relationship that we hope to grow. And one of the things I wanted to do today was to challenge our viewers to join us. Like, you know, I like round numbers, so I was hoping.
Makes the math.
I like round numbers with many zeros. We'll get the grant in the next few weeks, but I was hoping, you know, our viewers and our partners would help and join the captain and giving to make it to $100,000 like before the end of this program. So I will match right now up to $500 during the program of any gift. So you give $5, it's worth 10. You give $20, it's worth, or someone can just give $500 and then I'll just write a $500 check. You know, make it easy.
Done and done.
Yeah,
nice round number.
Nice round number. 100,000 challenge. So now I hope you'll join us because this is going to be really exciting.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. So yeah, help us get to that $100,000 mark by the end of this program.
$6,500. It's not bad. Like, you know, it's just yeah. It's
almost there.
Almost there.
So Jason, describe kind of your first experiences with coming to Pride of Baltimore.
So it was funny when I became chairman of the board. Like, I got introduced to Pride through like the War of 1812 celebration, where we traveled all over the state of Maryland. We visited different ports, and at the time I was vice president of the Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation, and Pride came to Prince George's County. We held a big fundraiser, got a lot of people out that had never been aboard.
Really got $25.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's like I gotta write a $25 check. And I was asked if I wanted to be a member of the board, and I was like, yeah, I would love it. Pride of Baltimore. I'm working in Prince George's County, bringing the state together. And then years later, a couple years later, I was elected chairman of the board. And as I was actually writing my speech for our first big event, which was Celebration, I started saying, oh yeah, I first came aboard when I was like 8 years old. My dad brought me to the Inner Harbor. He brought me aboard the ship. And the captain, I actually ran into the captain of the ship, and the captain, because I was like, what a cool pirate ship, as most kids, like, I know it's not a pirate ship, don't light me up on social media. But, as kids, you're just like, wow, it's a cool ship. And then the captain paused and said, well, son, it's a privateer. It's a legal pirate ship. And let me explain to you the chasseur and the history. He took the time to walk me around the ship, making this young kid, it was one of my most memorable experiences in the Inner Harbor of Baltimore, feel at home, feel like I was welcome, that I could be a part. And as I'm writing the speech, I'm like, I text our previous executive director, Rick Scott, and I was like, who was the captain then? And he's like, oh, that would have been Captain Jan. And I was like, wait, so the captain, that I'm now the chairman of this board, is still the captain. And, I just want to thank you, Captain Jan. I know you've done that for so many people, but the way you treat people when they come into your home, into your house, because when we're on, you're the captain. When I'm the chairman off the ship, you're the captain when we're on. It makes a lasting impact, and it made a lasting impact on me that 30 years later I remembered that experience, and it was something that I wanted to talk about. So I appreciate you, because you've been doing that for young people and inspiring people to want to be at the water and know that they're welcome on the water. So thank you, Captain. Really appreciate it.
That's a really awesome first experience. So we're up to $75.
Awesome.
Thank you, Trish and Emily, for donating. And Emily was here when Pride had her first sale. Emily Owen.
Oh, well, very cool. Is Pride 1 or Pride 2?
That's I believe Pride 2.
Pride 2. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that was right around the time when I first came. It was Pride 2 when I first came aboard. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, Jason, being the chairman of the board, what are some really exciting things that you see happening with Pride in the future?
Well, I mean, there's so many things happening. I mentioned the $92,000, the $93,000 partnership, and it's been tough to raise money. I mean, Pride has had some hardships, just like so many tall ships. Like, how do you be financially viable? How do you be mission driven? How do you connect to communities? Our board was very thoughtful to say, how do we grow our board? How do we get people from all over the state, different backgrounds that bring different experiences? And we went, I think in the last 2 years, from a 7-member board that was so mired in trying to figure out financials, to a board that's grown to just over 19 people from all over the state. We have a couple more spots, so shoot me an email if you're if you got some time on your hands and want to help Pride move forward. But I gotta say, the captain and I were talking yesterday about how the state of Maryland really stepped up. Pride 2 years ago was in such a strong financial crisis, and we actually, for the first time, had to winterize the ship early and not take the ship out of winterization in 2018. It was the first time in 30 years. And we went to the state legislature and spoke with them about it, and they said, Pride is important for tourism. Pride is that symbol. It was built to be a symbol of revitalization, bringing people to the water, bringing people together. It was supposed to be that goodwill ambassador that brought attention back to the state of Maryland. So they gave us the resources to lay the foundation for the future. And it's unfortunate with COVID, which has just been, we had a lot of momentum. We actually came into this year in the positive, but because we did everything we did, we ended up being strong enough to weather this storm. But what's been great is, as I said earlier, the captain, Jeff, our staff, Jeff Buchheit, really stepped up and started figuring out, all right, how does the organization keep active? So we got that grant. We just got another grant that I just found out about this week from the Baltimore Heritage area for another $10,000 to help us with our outreach programming. We got another grant to help us with signage and some of our social media. We're raising resources during the time of COVID because of the people behind the organization, people like you that are telling our story. We're expanding our committees, so if you're interested, we have the Voyage Committee that's planning next year. We have the Vessel Committee that's talking about how to maintain this incredible vessel, but also open with confidence. We want to open next year where people have confidence that the Pride and the captain, whose like #1 job is the safety of you when you come aboard this ship, is ready to return to service. And we have our visitor experience plan where we actually, it's a 47-page document that took me a while to read, but it's a great thoughtful document on how we're going to make the experience and the interaction better. So those are some fun things that are coming up. There's a lot more. We're spending a lot of time planning, and we need your help. We want not only your dollars, but we want your time.
Awesome. Just so you know, we're up to $180 now.
Awesome.
Thank you, Greg, Cora, and Randy for throwing donations in. Captain Miles, you've been with Pride for a while now.
Did I date you? I'm sorry.
That's it. And you've worked with a number of board chairs. How has it been working alongside Jason?
A lot of work.
I'll take that as a compliment.
He's the first one who has gone on a guest crew voyage.
Really?
And that was fun to watch because we've seen so many folks who as guest crew have had big careers, big leadership careers, CEOs of corporations. And so it was interesting to see how the response on your behalf was the same as theirs. They come with a will to have an experience in something that they already appreciate in a lot of different ways, but still it's an appreciation that's driving a desire to get into the weeds with this, knowing that it's still going to be a how do you do this, what do you want me to do kind of experience. And a lot of these leaders have always, well, any of these folks that of our guest crew that have been company leaders, and we've had several, have really appreciated being welcomed by the crew as if they themselves are crew, recognizing they're new to the ship and being brought into it, and watching you express freely any question that you had, knowing that the response you were going to get was going to be direct to the question, that and that everything was a growth period. Everything was sort of, okay, this is the way it works, and then once you got that, you were comfortable doing it.
It was fun. It was a great experience. It was grueling. I have to give it to the crew. You guys get a workout. I mean, like I hurt for a while when I got back, but to the captain's point, I was treated like a member of the team, and I'm not sure who assigned me to the 4 a.m. and the 4 p.m. shift.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Thanks, Jeff. But that 3:45 a.m. like wake up call, and like you got to get on top side, and like you got 15 minutes, grab your coffee, get up there, was interesting. But also like just you're right, Captain. I mean, I learned a lot, but then I got to see, like I think when trying to bring the board and the crew and the experience together is just so important, and I got to see firsthand like I have grand ideas. The captain says, like he says, work them hard. But then I saw the functionality of things like, okay, we would have to do that different. And it actually had a conversation the captain and I had this week. When you get aboard, you're tired. I'm really impressed that the crew that is up when we're serving people, like, so, like you have 4 crew members that are usually awake and around, and then you have crew members that are off, and the captain is always waking up. I was like, every 15 minutes, like how do you actually like make that through that? I started to really see like, okay, the amount of energy the crew has to have when you see them. I mean, they just only slept for a few hours often, like when you see them aboard when we're traveling, that we started talking about like how do we increase that experience, and how do we also like take some of the pressure off the crew, because like their job is to maintain the ship, but they're also tourism ambassadors for us, and we want them to feel engaged in what we're up to. So no, Captain, it was it was an experience, and I hope to do it again, like big time. Your eyes.
We just got some pretty good donations here. We're up to $2,680 in donations, so we've matched your 500. So you'll be writing that check, which is really great. Thank you, Matt Newcomer.
Oh, there you go. I know that guy.
And Greg Bauer asked a little bit ago, are there ways that you can get involved with Pride remotely?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of our committee meetings and our planning meetings are all now remote. We're being very thoughtful. Even today, like the captain and I were like, is the ship ventilated? Are we far enough apart? And but all of our meetings right now are happening. Even our board meetings are happening remotely. So if you go online, you can see our committees, you can see the engagement. If there's a way that you want to engage, you have some experience, have some ideas. We have a lot of planning time, which I think is unique. That we can do some really cool things, but we need partners to do it. I mean, we're still a small operation staff-wise. We're very lean and very thoughtful. The crew, as I said, there's 11 crew members, 12 including the captain, that need to keep the vessel functioning. So all the things that the board and our volunteers do is to support their functionality. We want that engagement. And I think, Jeff, we even locally had people helping with small projects off the ship, right?
Yeah. I started a volunteer program, Pride Take-Home Projects, where I put together, hatches or different projects and give all of the supplies that you need to finish that project, so somebody can come to the site and pick it up and do it in their own home. But that's only available for local Baltimore
area. Yeah. But yeah, if you have ideas of where you can support us, send them our way. We have planning time. The captain's wife Leslie and I have become very close, and educational, incredible people, building our education programs as we go into next year, because a lot of these funding that we're getting, we have to wrap some educational programs. So there's something that you see working elsewhere that you think could work for Pride. I'd love to talk to you. Leslie's been leading that charge. She even she keeps educating me. I got what is this called, Captain?
Well, it's something that one of our volunteer historians, professional historian, Scott Sheeds, or Ranger Scott, it's an Articles of Agreement. This is a copy of an actual record out of New York of the crew list of the most well-known Baltimore privateer of the 1812 war, the Chasseur, departing New York in July of 1814 on the voyage that took her across to Europe to do the paper blockade. So this is a record of the crew and their shares, officers and crew and their shares. This is something that Scott Sheeds had provided a paper copy to Leslie and me. So Leslie reminded me of this. We've had this for a little while, but anyway, this is a true record. This is Articles of Agreement.
Yeah, no. So it's things like that. I mean, we're also spending some time collecting some of our history. I found out people have paintings of Pride that are beautiful, that they want to donate for us to be able to raise money, or by putting live auctions up. We're really shifting to our digital engagement platform with our team. Patrick Smith, you probably see all of our fun social media posts. Patrick is amazing at what he does online for Pride, but we're also thinking of how we can raise resources, connect back, collect some of the history, so we can tell a better story about ourselves going into next year. So more people can learn. We're looking at some of the gifts that we can get. A few people sent us some paintings, and Pam reached out to us, and she had the original digital film. The rolls, which I'm trying to figure out how to digitize, of the Pride, the first Pride,
yeah.
of it sailing in the Inner Harbor. So we're going to figure out how to pick that up and digitize it. So if you know how to digitize, was that
35 millimeter roll-on film.
And a lot of it.
And a lot of it.
Boxes and
boxes of it. If you know how to digitize that. I mean, there's ways.
That started as a project because of the first Pride going to the Pacific it was the first major campaign of the first boat, and it was the groundbreaking thought for going to Europe. We didn't think of going to Europe until after we got back from the Pacific, but that was 82, 83 with Armin Assessors, the captain who took her out there. I brought her back, and the filming going out first. privateer, Baltimore privateer going through the Panama, going into the Pacific since forever.
Right.
Not that the Panama existed then, they had to go around back in those days, but there's a bit of West Coast history that attributes exploration to some Baltimore style vessels. So all that got generated, all that, and so it was this 35 mm film collection includes that, but also things at home. So if we can get that digitalized, that'll be some very high quality stuff.
It'd be really cool. So I mean, there's ways, and I know like I've been answering the question for a while, but I just want to make sure our viewers and our partners and our supporters know that there's ways to get involved. There's ways to help. Like, give me your ideas, give me your time, give us your programming, help Leslie with some of our education, some of our history, things we might not know and realize. I keep finding out, I keep learning something new every day, which is exciting. Like, I think this is a learning ship. This is a history. Like, it's like got a lot of history, but also it's been everywhere. When I was in Ireland, I went to a bar and I saw a picture of the Pride on the wall of this bar, and I said, what? Like I was like, this vessel has truly been all over the world and carries a lot of love for it. So it makes me excited to be engaged.
And if you're looking to connect with us, a good way to do that is just shoot an email to pride2, that's pride the number 2, at pride2.org, and just introduce yourself and kind of areas that you're looking to be involved in, and give us a little bit of time to get back to you, and we'll reach out to you, and hopefully we can get you involved and plug you in.
Where are we at money-wise, my friend?
So we're at 2,680 right now. Do you want to just give a quick recap of the goal we're going for?
Sure. So we got a grant from the National Park Service, a new partner that comes with a ranger like that. The National Park Service is paying for to be aboard Pride to help connect us to the parks, our history. We're going to travel to several ports. So it was a $93,500 grant. I'm trying to engage everyone to help us make it to even number of 100,000. So when we get the grant, we can also respond to the National Park Service and say our supporters support what we're trying to do to connect to communities and get Pride out there. So I did 500. I guess I should now just bounce it up to 2,000. So I'll match up to 2,000. I think we're going to get there.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
So anything you can do, $5, $10, a monthly gift. I just found out I was going through the list of those who are Privateer Society members and realized I wasn't one. So oops. So I got to do that. Privateer Society is just a monthly gift. It just helps us with our like donor base. It helps us with the state and our partners. Maggie McIntosh, who was one of our champions, loves to see our Privateer Society list grow because it shows the energy. But what's really exciting, Captain, even in these tough times, we've gained Privateer Society members. We've gained new donors, which tells us that we're doing something right and that we're heading in the right direction. But also, it just speaks to the people that are involved. They want to help and and see that we can continue to complete, as the captain said, our mission.
And that's a mission that started quite a long time ago.
It did.
And the world has observed and been observing for 4 decades this this genuine effort to go forward in a very local from a very local geographic perspective, but also it's a national one. Mm-hmm. Baltimore played a role in the 1812 war, related with a war with a foreign power, and the United States succeeded in achieving its general goal at great risk, of which Baltimore and its capabilities that had been building since the colonial era before independence, and these vessels are part of that, major part of that whole story, that whole business of the 1812 war. And so fast forward to the mid-1970s, and we've got that conversion that all the cities were going through in terms of being mostly industrial at the water, but that's getting bigger and needing to have more acreage, so they move out of the area, leaving behind detritus. So you rebuild it, you repurpose it. It's tourism in the case of Baltimore. So how do you get the word out? Sure, you could send someone in an airplane, but what if you sent something that is so attractive and so unique to nowhere else but your own territory, and you do it with this vessel or the previous vessel, It just woke the whole world up to a great energy, and that energy continues to be focused towards Baltimore with great appreciation. We went to China with this vessel, and they were hard pressed to understand, how do you send an ambassador on a sailboat? Then they realized, once they took a look at it, it was in their waters, that the ambassador was the ship. It was our history. They're proud of their history. They claim, and quite fairly it would be by some, that it's a 5,000 continuous year history. So they don't look at our history as being great, but they realize we have achieved something. We were willing to share it with them. We went to the effort to sail the boat 12,000 miles
Yeah.
to share it with them, and that gave them face, to use a concept from over there. So this 4-decade legacy is more than just plain us saying, look at us, look at us. It's actually highly appreciated, looks at Maryland, looks at the country, coming out of Baltimore. Maryland identity includes now the thing called Pride of Baltimore, and that's Maryland as well as Baltimore. So it's an asset. If Maryland's open for business, we're open for everything.
We're open for everything.
And Pride can carry that message
And for everyone.
on and on and on and on and on, because she's a well-built boat. She's cared for prudently, and we can continue to do it with this vessel for a long time. So
yeah, the captain was just telling me how prudently he's been carrying. He's been coming down every day, like soaking the deck, and I was like, "What does that mean?" And he's just like, "Well, because of the heat, and like we're trying to maintain the ship, so it's a well cared for." But I think also, Captain, I think the world right now needs some goodwill. I think that there is just a lot of sadness out there, and I think this vessel can still represent that goodwill, that bringing people together. And we've got a lot of work to do to like bring people back together. It's always sad to see it. I mean, I think we're a shining hope on social media, but sometimes I see some other things that I'm less than happy about. But Pride's trying to put out that message, not only just about our home port of Baltimore City, our namesake, but also like our state. Like Maryland's a cool place. Like come by, like when it's safe. Wear your mask. But it's important, like that we continue that mission, but we also find new ways to connect. We're talking with other organizations. How do we get people to the waterfront next year, like that?
Yeah.
Maybe never have an opportunity to come. I remember. I mean, I was from West Baltimore. Unfortunately, when I was younger, my dad was very thoughtful about communities that I shouldn't go. He was a cab driver, so we went all over the city. He took me everywhere. He wanted to introduce me, but he was very thoughtful that the harbor and ports don't always seem like the place that the African American community can be, but it was art in a harbor too. So bringing me aboard Pride, because he saw it that same way. Like this was built to change minds, to change hearts. I think. Well, actually, I don't think. Our board, and I know the captain, that's still our mission, like to continue to change hearts and minds and bring people together and give them opportunities they wouldn't have. And how do we do that in creative and thoughtful ways? And I mean, we even were talking about like what Port Fest and Pride being a center of that in the future, which brought people to the water to learn about jobs and opportunity. And and the captain was pointing out when he showed me this article of agreement that a good portion of these crews were African American crew members that, Chasseur was a very successful privateer that made their wealth at the water, that made their place at the water. And how do we make that true again? Like, and how can Pride be a symbol for bringing people back and saying there's jobs with our partner at the port that you can be here? I mean, I've seen Jeff Crosby actually rebuild part of the ship. I was like, how do you become a shipwright? How do you rebuild these unique vessels? Like, I mean, it's a cool thing. I mean, I've literally seen him craft things, and I'm like, wow, that's a carpentry skill that can be used aboard Pride, but also could be used in one of the buildings I construct. So I think it's how do we capture opportunity and capture hearts and minds again, and that's what I say. We need help. We need resources to like continue to do that, and we've got people dedicated to make it happen.
That's super awesome. Yeah, that's and also exciting for going into 2021. How long have you been chairman of the board?
I am coming up on my second. October will be hopefully. I guess I gotta see if the board will nominate me for re-election. October will be my 2-year term.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Like I said to the board if they'll have me, and I said to the organization and the state legislature that I was going to stick with the chairmanship for the first 5 years of funding from the state. The state gave us $500,000 a year. It's been the first time in a long time. It was the state legislature that stepped up and decided we're going to give this money every year, and we're going to give Pride a chance to like take it to the next level. Because the hardest thing was the board and the staff were always scrambling. It was great. Governor Hogan in the first 2 years gave us resources. The state stepped in and said, all right, let's just do a 5-year plan. And it was exciting. In that first year, we worked so hard. I think Jeff Buchheit, the captain, and I felt like Pride was like, well, for me, Pride was like my second job. But the board really engaged. Like board members from everywhere got and said, we're going to raise enough resources to start the 2019 year in the positive. I think, if I'm correct, Captain, we ended last year 80 grand in the positive, which we then were like, all right, let's figure out the investments. And then COVID may have stunted it, but it didn't stop our ability to function as an organization other than this beautiful vessel, which makes it realize that the vessel's key, but also the people around it, the captain, like the stories that he can tell, and coming up with Coffee with the Captain, which I watch very, very often. Those are the things that can sustain us. And if we can sustain this and go into next year strong, Pride will be here for at least another 30 years. Maybe like if the captain ever retires, like we'll be partying 30 years from now, like, and naming like a second, like an award for Captain Miles. That's a great idea. Let's do that.
That's a really good idea.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah. So now that you're coming up close to being chairman of the board for 2 years, what has been some challenges, or what's a challenge that you see kind of coming down the pipeline, other than the pandemic?
Yeah.
And you've touched on some of them so far that you've either dealt with or that you're going to need to deal with going forward.
Yeah, I think financially, like, we're trying to figure out how to lay the foundation, but also how to engage people at a higher level, how to open up our partnerships. Like, Pride of Baltimore is one waterfront institution, but there's so many more. There's Sail Baltimore. There's like the Baltimore County Sailing Club. There's like the Waterfront Partnership. And each jurisdiction has something similar. How do we reach those institutions and say, are there ways we can save resources together? What are we all spending on? What kind of programming are we doing? Tourism, and I think the captain and Nick Iliff, the chair of our Voyage and Program Committee, has been working really closely with Jeff and Erica. How can we like partner with other institutions and joint program to lower costs but increase impact? That's really what we're going to be looking for, because like there's a finite amount of money, and unfortunately this crisis, it's going to hurt our economy, people's like income to give to something like Pride. And we completely understood, and we actually said to the state very clearly, like, hey, we understand that like we shouldn't come back and ask for more right now. There's institutions that need to raise money because they are frontline institutions, but we want to be part of that roaring back mission of tourism to help the restaurants. I mean, our restaurant partners like were hit so hard, and they were the ones that supplied us for Celebration. We didn't pay anything for food or our drink for Celebration because of some of the amazing Baltimore and Annapolis restaurants. How is Pride helping that mission and helping them come back and helping people feel like safe? I can't wait, hopefully, Captain, March of next year for our homecoming, us sailing into the Baltimore Harbor, cannons blazing, saying open for business. Like, let's get out, more outside seating, and like how can Pride be a part of that mission? So those are some things that the board is thinking about, but also our diversity. Let's be honest, like how we as an organization can help bring people into the sailing industry. Like I think tall ships are beacons. They bring people to the waterfront, they bring people to tourism. What happens beyond that? I talked about Port Fest. I talked about like those other institutions. How do we get energy so people feel like they can be part of this institution? So those are just some of my ideas, and I think there's more hope than problems for Pride of Baltimore.
Which is a really good spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a nice spot to be in.
Absolutely. So we're up to $2,730,
So-
which is a good chunk of change. Gets us that much closer.
So I'll match up to 3,000 now. So that puts us $700 away, right?
That puts us $700 away.
So I'll match up to 3,000, and from the chairman of the board, and I do it because I love Pride. And I know that money can help be used to help get people who might not have transportation to the waterfront. We can use it for that. We can talk. The captain and I can continue to have a conversation. How do we get a marketing and representative on board to help? So, I just appreciate all the help. And I wanted to do it during the hour, but if you want to write a check because you want to write a check, we'll accept that. I suppose Jeff Bukite will be very excited to see it show up in the mail. But Captain, you're an expensive date, by the way. It's been a coffee with the captain, only $3,000.
So let's go back to your sailing experience aboard Pride.
Yep.
What is a highlight? What is a low light?
Oh, okay. Let's go with the low light. I remember.
Start there. Yeah.
It's both a highlight and a low light. The canals was such a cool experience to just watch the Pride come tie
We're
up.
talking about the Welland Canal.
Welland Canal.
We're moving the ship. You came aboard in Toronto. We're getting ready after that festival last year. We're moving towards Buffalo. We have to go from Lake Ontario to Lake Erie. That's crossing what's called the Niagara Escarpment, and that's a 300-foot change. So there's a series of locks that come almost back to back, some of them actually back to back, and there are these 50-foot rises. You're going into this concrete canyon, and the doors of Mordor close behind you, and
amazing.
they're in front of you.
It was amazing. I was just like, whoa. And it was just interesting coming into the canal and then just seeing the water rise you up and then open. And it was just beautiful, like, to see it. The unfun part was when for one of these, I was actually like on deck and I had to work. And I just remember like having to raise the ship, and I forget what it's called, Captain. I know it's at the back of the windlass,
Up at the front.
and just cranking so hard and so fast, and like it's not like you could stop. There was a team, like, and that's what I think, like the team of Pride, like the crew was there, everyone was like cranking too, and you couldn't stop. And then as you got higher, and you just had Jeff Crosby yelling over your shoulder, like Jason Williams, don't slow down, like you gotta get, because like like you had to crank at that speed, because I had understandings, you had to balance the ship, so like it was extremely important so the ship didn't slam up against the side or.
Yeah, there's a turbulence that occurs during the fill process. So you're going to have to come join the boat for the downbound.
It's way nicer.
It's way nicer. Okay, I was like, no more up
There's
down.
no work at all. But on the way up, there's a peculiarity about the ship and the fact of the hydraulics to fill these things that forces the ship to twist. So what's going on in the bow of the boat with the windlass is you and 6 other people, so there are like 7 or 8 people on that, cranking on the windlass on a teeter-totter arrangement, and you're trying to keep the vessel against the wall uniformly, so not crooked. And so that's where all the energy is going. That's a lot of work because the hydraulics is very powerful stuff on the hull of the boat. And yes, it's a headache going up. It's a cakewalk going down.
I learned the headache, and I remember like falling and just like wanting to take a nap, and they were like, no, you just got like 3 more hours in your shift.
How many more locks?
I was like, how many more locks are we doing? I think there's a funny picture of me falling asleep at the back of the ship after like the last lock. But that was an experience, but also just getting through them and just seeing the beauty. But one of the really fun things was actually like eating with the crew, but also cooking for them that one night, and like and Phil is full of stories. So spending 2 hours with him, like cooking dinner was like just a blast because he's just been everywhere, he's seen everything, and so that was really a cool experience, just like learning how you cook for like 12 people underway, except and not 12 people, including
There were
six,
18, yeah.
18, including six guest crew members. It was really, and then just the interaction. The captain came out, sat with everyone, like just one of the team, told stories. Everyone ate, like, and then everyone was out. It was just like scatter, either go back to sleep, go and watch, you know, like so. That was probably like one of the highlights. And you know, actually, the favorite thing though is when we were leaving Buffalo and we were in the race, and I
That's
looked.
Toronto, yeah.
That's Toronto. I'm sorry, we were leaving
Yeah.
Toronto. We were on our way to Buffalo. We were in the race, and I looked back, and all the other ships were like these little tiny, like.
Yeah, that's a pretty good race.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like all the ships, I was just like, they're just getting smaller and smaller, and then to the point that the captain actually stopped, brought everybody together, and said, "All right, so I have a little time here," and kind of like gave us like an education lesson on all the sails and like and how the speed we were moving, and that was just pretty cool. It was a good feeling, and I was just like. I was like praying, please God, don't let me be the first chairman aboard and us lose our first race. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
I mean, to be fair, we did have a bit of an advantage. There was several vessels that, while they go through the Welland, had to have their boat taken apart to some degree, or yards cockpilled. So we did have that advantage. But there was also the one of the Toronto Brigantines put up a pretty good fight.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was a great race.
Yeah.
But also, Captain, when we, like, the captain mentioned something, when we make it to ports, Pride sailing into a harbor, no matter how large the harbor, it's hard to miss. I mean, it's just like, and we always came in full sail, and you just, like, it was for the Tall Ship Festivals, so the festival hadn't even started, but even all the staff and, like, people who were, like, running, you see people stop running and start snapping pictures, people lining up as it was coming into every city. It was a good feeling. It was like a good feeling to see the energy that it brought. And people asked, what's the Pride of Baltimore? Or even people that came aboard, like, we didn't know this was here. Tell us about Baltimore. And I want to thank, Visit Baltimore, been a great partner, gave us all kinds of cool giveaways. We gave away, what was it, Jeff, like 80,000 of the the Visit Baltimore, like, magazines. People took them. Like, they were just like, huh, this is pretty cool. And we actually, for the first time, which I'm sure like everyone enjoyed, the crew enjoyed, we had a pixelated camera, so people were snapping selfies and we were collecting email addresses. So like trying to like do some fun things, because like taking a cool picture at the helm or on board Pride, everyone likes a selfie, and then it was more, not only for that, but also it was an email grab because I wanted their emails.
That helps us.
It helps the organization. But yeah, no, I will not, if you ever have the opportunity, like, which I hope once we figure out the next steps through this pandemic, I can't wait for people to have a guest crew experience. I recommend it to, like, I wish I could have brought my staff and rented it out for like 5 people just to bring them aboard. It was teamwork. It was education about like sales. I mean, you had STEM education, you had leadership education, you had workout, like you had it all kind of all wrapped in one place. It was just a unique experience, and like it's nothing like raising a sail on this ship. I mean, it is like, gotta lean into it.
Gotta want to do it.
You gotta want to do it. So yeah, no, you've done something amazing like here. So I think everyone should experience it.
That's really awesome. Well, we're coming up to the end of our time here. We have raised $2,730.
That's awesome.
So I just want to give a big thank you to everybody who donated this episode. Jason, do you have anything else you want to share with us?
No, I just thank you. Thank the captain. Thank for coming up with this idea, Coffee with the Captain. I think it's been really a great thing. I was speaking with the Deputy Chief of Staff of the state of Maryland, who kind of oversees some of our funding, and she said, oh yeah, I've watched Coffee with the Captain, and your emails are great, and the captain is just like an easy person to watch and listen to. Thank you for engaging during this tough time and continuing to represent like our city and our state well. Like it's been amazing. So yeah, that's it for me. Like I'm just glad to be a part. Engage, get involved, email me. I'm just Jason with a Y at pride2.org. You can email me directly, and we can chat.
Awesome. And next week we'll be continuing the series that we started last week, which I like to call, in my own mind, Jan in command. So we'll be going through, continuing on with going through the vessels that Jan has been in command of, and kind of telling those stories and how that relates to his time in command on Pride. So, Captain Miles, do you have any parting words for us?
As always, remain diligent, everyone.